Well, I think people have to go into the session eyes wide open. Part of what we're here to do is have conflict. So not every day is going to be kumbaya, and you can't really judge the progress of a session until it has concluded. We should have vigorous disagreement about those areas where we have differences of opinion, and that doesn't mean that it bodes ill for the ending.
And absolutely, we have a very low bar to clear after the last legislative session in the last several years. We already have much stronger relationships with Senate Republicans and the governor, and so we have every reason to expect that we can come together as much as we possibly can and not leave anything on the table that Minnesotans would expect us to get done together.
It seems to me transportation and the health care tax are two of the biggest issues that separate both sides. Do you agree?
I do. I think that those are really central, and the reason is it's so important for Minnesotans. I think that's what the governor did really well in the State of the State today, was to explain why transportation funding is important, not from the standpoint of what's in the Highway User Trust Fund and what do counties get, what do cities get, but what does it mean for people in their daily lives, the difference between having safe roads and bridges and not having safe roads and bridges. And I think when we go to that level of our values, that's where we start the conversation. And then we can talk about the different ways we can achieve those objectives.
Do you agree with that? And as I asked Senator Gazelka, if highways like Highway 14 are so dangerous for decade after decade, why has nothing been done until now with the money that has been raised?
It's always a question of priorities and choices, and I think the governor laid that out very well. We can choose the story that we write about this legislative session and about the work that we do. For too long, transportation has not risen to the top as a priority because, in part, we need to educate kids today, but bridges and roads can be put off. It's time for us to face that reality, however, invest in the next generation of transportation. I do think both parties strongly believe that it's important, and the difference really is how we pay for it.
And on healthcare access tax, is that a major stumbling block?
I don't think that's going to be a major stumbling block. I think Republicans recognize that we have to take care of that, or many, many Minnesotans are going to be thrown off of health care, lose access to long-term care, and many other things. I think everyone recognizes that it needs to happen.
I think the governor was right to call upon the bipartisan creation of Minnesota Care. You know, Minnesota was a leader in the country long before the nation moved forward on reducing their rate of uninsured. We were tops in the nation for not only having a low rate of uninsured, but as the governor noted in his speech, really excellent health outcomes. And that was because we had our Republican governor, Arne Carlson, come together with the Democratic leader, Linda Berglund, and to do this legislation in a bipartisan way. And I think he's calling on our better angels to rise to that moment again and preserve that legacy.
Well, the tone of this speech can actually make a difference in getting down to brass tacks and speaking to the Republican. And that's basically what he's trying to do. His tone is trying to set the stage in some ways for getting to the end of this session. How does that work?
I think it does matter how you treat each other and how you talk about each other, and that you separate the personalities from the problems. And I think that we have a set of leaders who are willing to do that. It does make the relationship much more difficult when people are taking pot shots and cheap shots. And I think you've seen Senator Gazelka and Governor Walz rise to talking about issues and where we might disagree rather than dragging personalities into the conversation.
How difficult will it be to write your own story, as he put it, and have the end of this session be different than others?
Well, we are the only divided legislature in the nation, and so we know that the challenge is significant. We've had tough times in recent years. I think the main thing is not so much whether we disagree. We know we're going to disagree. The question is whether we have a willingness to compromise and put things on the table that will actually help the state move forward. And I do think that there's every expectation, every reason for an expectation that we will finish this budget on time, get done, and do good things for the people of Minnesota. Thanks.